The Elements of Friendship, Book 1, Harmony, by Armas Vikeland. Chapter 6, A Major Ursine Trick. Scootaloo watched from the outskirts of Ponyville forlornly, her forehooves resting on the handles of her scooter. How could she have been so stupid to sleep in? Well, it's not like she could help it. The new sun wasn't exactly that bright at sunup, but still! She showed up to see the herd off late, probably hours after Rainbow Dash had already left with those other ponies. Scootaloo! The Pegasus filly turned to face a yellow earth pony filly and a white unicorn filly. She couldn't help but smile. Hey, girls, she said sadly. How've things been? Apple Bloom gave her friend a new quizzical look. Pretty fine, considering it's only been about 2 hours since we were last here. Really? Scootaloo asked nervously, her eyes starting around. No kidding. Has it really only been 2 hours? It feels like it's been ages since I've seen you two. Scootaloo, Sleepbell stepped forward. Have you slept all since Rainbow Dash left? Sleep? Who needs sleep? It's everlasting night. I can sleep when I want. But I gotta see Rainbow Dash when she gets back. You never know when she might drop in. Oh, come on, Scoots, beckoned Apple Bloom with a dull yellow hoof. You need to rest. Do you really want Rainbow Dash to see you looking at things? Scootaloo's bracketing cerise mane was even more wild than it usually was, sticking out in more directions up than back. Her eyes were buggy, and her feathers were badly ruffled. She had not been preening. Scootaloo sighed. Fine, only because it's you guys. She smiled at her fellow Crusaders for cutie marks. Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle respectively did a little victory leap and a victory rear up. Should I carry your scooter for you? Asked Apple Bloom. Nah, I'll use it for support, replied Scootaloo, slouching over to Scooter's handles and pushing herself along on her hind legs. Sweetie Belle arched a pink eyebrow. Are you sure it's safe? Safer than a bunch of creepers I bite, Apple Bloom commented. Actually, I think a group of creepers is called a cannibalism. Scootaloo scoffed. What are you, a dictionary? She finished this statement with a yawn. Apple Bloom gave her friend a sad smile. You're dead on your heels there, Scoots. Let's go to Sugar Cube Corner, get just the sugar in your system, then on the Sweetie Belle's house. Yeah! Sweetie Belle said, talking lightly. And when we get there, we can start brainstorming about the different ways we can try to get our cutie marks. Oh, sure, sighed Scootaloo, her eyes dripping a bit. I just hope I'm not asleep when Rainbow Dash. A booming bellow of a roar shook the air, almost shaking the clouds out of the sky. The three fillies squeaked in terror, grabbing each other in a tight three-way four-leg hug. What was that? Scootaloo asked a quiver, her prior sleepiness forgotten. I don't know, Apple Bloom stuttered. It didn't sound like no beast that tried to attack Sweet Apple Acres. Then, where did it come from? Sweetie Belle gasped, eyes fixated in the direction of the roar, past the carrot stable. The ground rumbled violently, then went still. Then it rumbled more violently, still. More and more. A pale magenta glow began to emulate from Ponyville's edge. The intermittent rumbles were becoming stronger and stronger. An 8-pointed cornflower star rose into view on a pale magenta forehead of translucent fur. The three cutie mark Crusaders cowered as the beast roared up. Claws as long as carriages, teeth as thick as tree trunks, its body as large as town square, speckled with what might have been glowing stars. With the Ursa Major roar, the three fillies and all of Ponyville need not have screamed. It's not even been 3 days, and we're already returning to Ponyville, queried Rarity, staring out at the thatched roofs of Ponyville, out under Twilight's high noon simulation. The more I think about it, the odder it seems. As prepared as we think we were before setting off for Canterlot, we were too ill-prepared, Twilight explained. I'll say, Rainbow Dash frowned, brushing imaginary dust off her shoulders. We barely got in and out. We can't just bank on Nightmare Moon hovering over the keys to her defeat. Twilight nodded. It wasn't quite sure how she would have worded it, but it was correct in fundamentals.
I'm sure Angel Bunny will be so glad to know that I'm back early.
Fluttershy said with a faint smile.
I mean, I know that Stallion will have done a great job taking care of him, but I'd rather really not oppose Angel on him.
I'll bet, murmured Twilight so lowly that Fluttershy did not hear, though Rainbow Dash did let out a suspiciously loud cough. All right, everypony, Applejack said sharply. We sure we got everything that we left with, more or less?
I think so,
Rarity replied, patting her salad bag. A purple glimmer from inside caught Twilight's eye. Rarity, did you leave a flashlight on in there?
I didn't pack a flashlight, Twilight.
Rarity used her periwinkle glimmer shimmer to lift up her saddlebags off her back, setting them down on the ground. She opened up each saddlebag, one after the other.
Oh!
Piggy squealed, jumping up and down and all around her friends.
What is it? What is it? What is it?
The element pieces in Rarity's bag. Twilight started. Are glowing? Spike finished. The shards were glowing a bright purple, and yet the pieces of rock themselves seemed not to be hot or even really warm. They made Twilight feel warm as she put a hoof near them, as if some pony had given her a tremendous gift at their own personal cost.
Twilight, are these from one element of harmony, or...
They're definitely from one, Twilight replied. I tried fitting them together in our off time just before we left, so each of the separate piles were each of the 5 elements. Rainbow Dash pulled her face. Egghead! Twilight scowled at the Pegasus for a moment, who grinned back sheepishly. Once she had her fill with glaring at Rainbow, she returned her questioning stare upon the element fragments in Rarity's saddlebags. But how did this happen? Rarity, did you do anything or feel anything weird since we left Ponyville? Rarity shook her head.
I did nothing that I would not have ordered an enemy done.
Twilight put a hoof to her scruffy chin, but before she could get very far, a booming ursine roar split the night sky. Fluttershy made a wilting groan, not unlike a goat, and fell onto her back. Her legs pointed straight in the air. Her 6 other companions did not fare much better. The 5 other mares either ducking and covering their heads, or digging their forehoofs in and preparing to bolt. Spike did the latter, because it was what Rarity was doing. Mom! What was that? He asked timidly, looking up at Twilight. It's Twilight! The lavender unicorn insisted, looking quite ill at ease. And I have an idea. I just prayed to Queen Celestia that I'm wrong. She grabbed Spike in her teeth by one of his spines, tossed him up onto her back, and took off for Ponyville at a gallop. The 5 other mares galloped, flew, or plonked after her.
Sweet Celestia!
Cried Rose, the raspberry-maned and pale yellow-coated mare.
It's an Ursa Major! It's the Nightmare Moon is going to destroy us all!
Screamed her sister Daisy, a mare with a pale magenta coat and sprawling spring-green mane.
The horror! The horror!
Shrieked their sister Lily, a pale raspberry-coated and amber-maned mare, her hooves at her cheeks as she passed out in horror. The 2 Earth Pony mares on either side started trying to help her away from the scene, to no avail. The townspeople of Ponyville looked up in horror at the titanic Ursa Major, roaring up at the sky, threatening to bang its forelegs down upon the rooftops. Roar! 6 more mares and a dragon cub joined the congregation, several of them gaping in awe. The dragon cub fainted on seeing the creature.
I was afraid of this,
Twilight muttered. It's an Ursa Major! There's no mistaking it. A bear titan, gasped Applejack. Celestia, help us. Celestia isn't here, Twilight said, stepping forward. But I am! Every pony, get away from the Ursa Major! The rest of Ponyville noticed Twilight's return with her company. In a split second, they parted to either side of the street, leaving just the Golden Oak Library between Twilight and the Ursa Major. Twilight gritted her teeth. I won't let you hurt any pony here, or their books! Her Alicorn glowed brilliantly pink, a ring of light appearing around it as well. Each of her companions stared in awe, Applejack standing watch over Spike, as her horn began to emit a low hum, and Twilight herself began to sweat. Finally, after what seemed like forever, a blinding glimmer beam shot out from Twilight's Alicorn, directly at the Ursa Major's heart. It took a few seconds for the beam to reach the Ursa Major. Then it shot straight through, as though the Ursa Major was not there. Twilight gaped. "But no!" Twilight screamed. "That was a direct hit! How could that Ursa expulsion spell not have worked?"
"What's going to happen, Twilight?"
Farsight asked fearfully. "I don't know," replied Twilight in terror, her ears flattened. "I don't know what to do." "Fear not, fair ponies of this town!" boomed out a voice from what seemed like everywhere. Ponyville looked about in confusion, while the Ursa Major seemed to forget its rays and cast its wide eyes about in fear. "For you are about to be saved from this Ursa menace by—" A great pale magenta cloud of smoke appeared directly before Twilight, sending sparkles out in every direction. Waving a hoof and coughing to get the smoke out of her face, Twilight barely had time to wonder where all this came from before the cloud of smoke and sparkles dissipated dramatically, sending glitter to every corner of this Ponyville. Standing in place of the cloud of smoke was a unicorn mare with a coat of brilliant azure, a luxurious cornflower mane with not a single hair out of place. Her entire existence exuded exuberant assurance. She wore a pale purple cape fastened with a large blue-white gemstone over her chest, and a tall, pointed hat with a wide brim in the same color. Both were patterned with pale blue and yellow stars. Her cutie mark was of a magic wand, crescent-shaped swirl of stars emerging from the five-pointed tip. "The great and powerful Trixie!" the unicorn said, her voice still echoing throughout the streets, her dark violet eyes sparkling at Twilight. She produced a crooked staff with a flourish of a forehoof. The Ursa Major's eyes contracted at the sight of Trixie, and Twilight could not understand why. As a student of magic, she could tell amateur parlor tricks from genuinely advanced magic, and this Trixie had clearly placed more study into showing off than actually doing anything of substance. Puffs of smoke and loud bangs were more often than not a sign of inept magic. "Trixie is the scourge of Ursa Major and Minor across the Celestia!" the azure unicorn continued, raising the staff which glowed with a brilliant white. "And now, the great and powerful Trixie shall save you!" A tremendous Ursa Major paw fell down upon the azure unicorn, though one visit would have been more than enough. Ponyville and Twilight gasped in horror. This was a sudden and grisly end to meet. But when the Ursa Major brought his paw up, there was nothing on the ground. No blood, no body, no bent and broken staff, nothing. "As the great and powerful Trixie was saying," a voice echoed from atop the balcony of the Golden Oak Library. It was Trixie, once more holding her staff aloft. "She shall save you, villagers, from this beast, as she has saved so many towns before you!" The light from her staff shot up and impacted the Ursa Major in the chest. The beast roared defiance as the light consumed its titanic body, which rose up and into the sky, breaking down into star-like particles of light as it blazed past the moon and became one with the Big Dipper, shining bright in defiance of Twilight's sun. Trixie leapt dramatically down from the balcony to the lower tree branch, then to a lower one, then to the grassy earth around Golden Oak Library. "The Ursa Major is banished from this town!" she shouted to the skies. "Nevermore shall any abomination strike here!" Twilight and her 5 companions gaped. Most of Ponyville simply gaped as well. Spike rose up, rubbing his eyes. What happened?" The Drake mumbled. "Something fishy," Rainbow Dash replied. "How could a showboating unicorn like that take down something that Twilight couldn't?" "I don't know," Twilight said, her head bowed slightly as she scratched behind her forelock. "But that was like no Ursa Major I've ever seen." "As mayor of Ponyville," the mayor announced clearly, so that every pony could hear as he trotted up to the azure unicorn in front of the Golden Oak Library, "I would like to heartily recommend you for your actions in saving us from that dreadful Bear Titan." The reaction from Ponyville was mixed. Though many assented to Mayor's statements and started to cheer and stomp their hose in approval, still many muttered darkly to each other in suspicion of the oddly convenient timing of Trixie's arrival. Still, Trixie seemed to ignore the voices of these latter naysayers as he addressed the Mayor.
The great and powerful Trixie! Thanks you, Mayor of Ponyville. She has journeyed long and far to track down that Ursa Major down before it could reach the settlement. But alas, due to her own tiredness and right ahead of her, it was only our good fortune that the great and powerful Trixie arrived before any major damage could be made.
Horse feathers! Cried Rainbow Dash, flying straight up to Trixie's face, practically muzzle to muzzle, with the traveling unicorn. You faked that somehow! I know it! Trixie's mouth quavered dramatically, streams of tears pouring down her muzzle. Rainbow flattened back a couple of paces.
The great and powerful Trixie lays her life on the line for you ponies, and this is the thanks she gets?
Several ponies began to crowd behind Trixie, giving Rainbow Dash dark glowers. She flat backed even further, and an Earth Pony mare, with a pale yellow coat and fancy cobalt-infused mane snarled.
You leave her alone, Rainbow Dash, and let her explain.
Rainbow Dash settled on the ground. Sorry, I just thought it looked fishy.
Come on, Rainbow,
Twilight said, trotting up and placing a hoof on Rainbow's shoulder.
Let it go. Let's just give her the benefit of the doubt for now. Maybe she does know more about taking Ursa Major down than I do. Ha! You see,
Trixie said triumphantly, her tears seemingly forgotten.
The great and powerful Trixie's greatness and powerfulness is acknowledged by a fellow unicorn. She truly is the most accomplished slayer of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor in all of Equestria.
As she reared up in victory, a pair of shafts of pale magenta light shot up into the sky, bursting with twin bangs into flowers of sparkles that descended upon them.
Rainbow Dash!
Cried the little filly's voice, and Rainbow Dash turned just in time for Scootaloo to throw her forelegs around the Cyan Pegasus' necks.
Whoa! Take it easy there, Squirt!
Rainbow grinned at the filly.
You're gonna strangle me one of these days doing that! I'm so sorry I missed you leaving like that, Rainbow Dash,
Scootaloo said sadly.
I overslept, and I missed being able to see you off. I'm so sorry.
Rainbow gave the filly a sad and slightly confused look, patting her on the back.
Come on, kiddo. It's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't hold a bit of side-eye against you. See? When I told you, Skeets,
Applebloom said, as she and Sweetie Belle trotted up to the pair of Pegasi.
I told you if it weren't no biggie.
A throat cleared, and the gathering group turned to see Trixie's glowering, ears growing flat, and giving the azure unicorn a dark glare. Rainbow Dash trotted backwards and clamped her jaws shut, Scootaloo giving her idol a bemused look.
As she was saying, the great and powerful Trixie is tired from her long journey and in the need of supplies for her journey to the next town.
Anything you ask of is yours, oh great and powerful Trixie, said the Mayor, prostrating herself before Trixie.
Trixie is glad to hear this,
the azure unicorn said with a blom, following the stately Earth Pony along with the herd of supportive ponies. It was noticeably larger than the crowd that initially supported Trixie. Rainbow Dash's little stunt had only brought ponies who were tentatively more firmly on Trixie's side.
I can't believe you, Twilight!
Rainbow Dash shouted as soon as the posse surrounding Trixie had left the street leading to the Golden Oak Library.
I mean, it's so obvious that was a fake-out.
It may be, Rainbow Dash, but charging in blindly and flinging accusations around isn't going to get us anywhere, Twilight explained. We'll need to tackle this with a more logical, deductive approach. Rainbow Dash folded her legs miserably.
Welcome home, Rarity,
piped Sweetie Belle.
Oh, Sweetie Belle, thank you so much,
Rarity replied, embracing her little sister.
I'm so glad to be home. How was your trip?
Applebloom asked, her big sister.
Will the sun be rising soon? Applejack averted her eyes, rubbing foreleg. Not quite. We still need to find out how to activate the elements of harmony to begin with.
What are the elements of harmony?
Scootaloo asked.
The answer to this mess, Twilight replied, and we've only managed to activate 1 out of 6 so far. If making Rarity Shards glows count as activating it. We don't even know how we activate it. Wait, my sister's element's going first? Sweetie Belle asked, before beaming and throwing her forelegs around her sister's barrel. Rarity, you're the best big sister ever! I'll still think Applejack's the best big sister ever, Apple Bloom argued. No, Rainbow Dash! Rarity, Apple's like, Rainbow Dash! Girls! Shouted Rarity. Please stop arguing. It's giving me a migraine. The 3 fillies smiled innocently. We weren't arguing, Sweetie Belle said sweetly. Oh, yeah, we were just trying to get our cutie marks and arguing, Apple Bloom added. Wait, is arguing really a special talent that we want to have? Scootaloo asked, raising a cerise eyebrow. Oh, yeah, you're right. And what will it even look like? Oh, to answer your question, I have done research, and the best cutie mark analysis have pointed out that it looks like 2 ponies yelling at each other, with a giant exclamation point in between. I don't know. Maybe 2 ponies shouting at each other? Well, shouting at each other isn't going to solve this Trixie situation, Twilight added, turning to canter into town. Before she left, she turned to Pinkie Pie. You know, you've been awfully quiet for a while now, Pinkie. Pinkie waved a hoof, sat loudly sussing Twilight. Shh! I'm thinking of parties. Twilight raised a sapphire eyebrow. What kinds of parties? Pinkie began to energetically plonk around the 5 mares, and 3 fillies and 1 drake. I was thinking of throwing us a welcome back to Ponyville, but not quite done with taking down Nightmare Moon Party. But I thought that was too long of a title for a banner, unless the banner would stretch from one side of Ponyville to another. But then ponies would take too long to read to enjoy the party. And then I started thinking of a shorter way to say welcome back to Ponyville, but not quite done with taking down Nightmare Moon Party. But then I saw the new unicorn named Trixie, and I did a big mental. Pinkie floated up into the air as he did a slightly quieter impersonation of Gas upon meeting Twilight. When I realized I'd never seen Trixie in Ponyville before, and I started thinking about throwing a mix, welcome back to Ponyville, but not quite done with taking down Nightmare Moon, and welcome to Ponyville, the great and powerful Trixie Party. But then I realized that was an even longer title than that old title, and I started thinking of how to shorten that party title, but... Okay! Twilight flapped her forelegs about frantically. We get it! You think about parties! Twilight's ears twitched. Ponies were laughing. Looking about, she saw that pretty much everyone in the group with her, including Spike, was chuckling, giggling, or snickering to her or himself. What's so funny? Twilight asked, confused. Rainbow Dash recovered quickest. Well, you gotta know, Twilight, you're kind of a stick in the mud. Rainbow! Scolded Applejack, before giving Twilight a soft smile. I think what she's trying to say is, we're all used to Pinkie Pie. We've all learned to just go with her flow and let her say what's on her mind. You gotta learn to laugh at things you don't quite understand, or you're going a bit crazy. Twilight looked at Pinkie, the bouncy earth pony who smiled and laughed at so much in the world that she had no business to laugh and smile at. And Twilight laughed a little at the absurdity of it. See what I mean, Twilight? Pinkie said, bounding toward Twilight in an energetic double flip, holding Twilight's face in her rubbery hose. Laughter is the best medicine.
Sure thing, Pinkie.
Twilight gave a nervous chuckle.
But would you kindly let my face go? We have a unicorn to investigate.
The Everfree Forest was a domain unto itself. Since the era of discord, the pharmaceutical ley lines that crossed deep beneath were corroded with a forbidden, ancient magic, preventing pony magic from affecting the ways of the land. As such, it was a place that only the most hardy or foolhardy ponies would travel willingly into. The creatures of the forest, from the most minuscule of gnats to the full-grown dragons and Ursae that dwelt within the caves at the northern and southern edges of the forest, were completely out of fine control of pony magic. In one cave rested an Ursa Minor and its Ursa Major mother. The Ursa Minor's translucent back rose, and fell with each sleeping oar that it took. Even as a miasmic mist appeared around it on the ground, it drew it away and out of sight. The Ursa Major stirred. The group of 10 trotted, or plunged in Pinky's case, along the street after the herd that followed Trixie. They had a pretty good idea of where the crowd was going. Though there were very few threats in Ponyville's short history that threatened the entire town's existence, it seemed logical that Town Hall be the center of ceremonies for a savior of Ponyville.
Whoa, kiddo!
Gasped Rainbow Dash, looking at Scootaloo's wings. Her feathers were ruffled and askew. Clumps of dirt worked into the gaps between many of her secondaries.
How long has it been since you preened?
Scootaloo chuckled nervously.
I was waiting for you quite a while.
Rainbow Dash sighed, looking to her companions.
Could you guys give us a space? Pig and I don't usually preen when others are watching.
Fluttershy nervously shooed her fellow ponies to the side, hiding one side of her face behind a wing. Once he was sure that every pony, and Spike, was looking away, Rainbow Dash set it down upon Scootaloo's wings.
You know, I could do it myself,
the small orange Pegasus said ruefully, though only half-heartedly.
Who's the preening expert between the two of us?
You? Rainbow Dash flashed a fanging grin.
You bet I am. How do you think I'm such a good flyer? I always thought you got up early. Oh.
Rainbow Dash had just started to preen at Scootaloo's left wing, her fangs sifting through the feathers, sliding them back into place, pulling out bits of dirt between her secondaries, which Rainbow Dash then spit onto the ground.
Seriously, kid, you gotta clean your wings a bit more often than this,
the Cyan Pegasus said in a smiley, scolding tone. Scootaloo took a deep breath. Some pony else was doing the preening for her.
Scoots?
Yeah?
I still need to do the other wing.
Moments later, after Rainbow gave Scootaloo time to recover from some pony else preening her feather, the herd moved on. Scootaloo flapped her wings experimentally, sighing deeply at the feel of the cool air through the clean feathers. Her right wing still twinged a bit, where a falcon feather had to be plucked out, though.
You feel that, Squirt?
Rainbow Dash said with a smirk, picking the filly up in her forelegs.
Nothing beats the feeling of freshly preened feathers flapping in the wind.
Scootaloo looked up at her eye.
You said it, Rainbow Dash. That I did. Now, promise me that you'll preen every day, and that you won't neglect them again. But preening takes forever. It does. And believe me, I hated preening when I was a filly too. But it's better to start with clean wing habits early, so that when your wings have grown into proper flying strength, you do it without even thinking about it. But most kids at my school, my age, are already able to fly. So you're a late bloomer. You'll fly one day, Squirt, and you'll put all of them to shame.
Scootaloo beamed up at Rainbow Dash at this bit of encouragement.
I promise, Rainbow Dash.
Rainbow smirked at the cerise maned filly between her forehoofs. Then she felt an uneasy sense that some pony was watching her. Turning her head around, she saw Twilight gaping at her.
What?
Rainbow asked.
Well, it's just that you sound so... Smart? Is that what you're getting at?
Twilight paused.
Yes, actually.
Rainbow frowned.
Look, if I just went about flying everywhere without taking care of my wings, do you really think I'd be as awesome at flying as I am?
Twilight thought for a moment.
No, actually.
Rainbow Dash smirked.
Exactly. Being a good flyer means taking good care of your wings. I mean, without good wings, what is a flyer really?
Twilight nodded slowly.
Wow, Rainbow Dash, I guess I was kind of wrong about you. You really do know your stuff.
Rainbow Dash scoffed.
Of course I do. I'm awesome. Yeah, you are, Rainbow Dash.
Squealed Scootaloo. Twilight chuckled a little at the rambunctious little Pegasus, before turning toward Town Square, which they had just reached. Virtually every pony in Ponyville was standing around Town Hall, and in front of the double doors into the gazebo stood the mayor at a podium, and the great and powerful Trixie, trying poorly to look humble and contrite.
"And now, as mayor of Ponyville, I bestow upon Trixie Lunamoon."
The mayor produced a very large golden key from behind her podium. The key to Ponyville as the reward for saving us from that dreadful Ursa Major! The herd of pony villagers clapped their hooves vigorously against the gravel of town square. Cheers and whoops filling the twilight air. Trixie reached over with the hoof, not holding onto her staff. Twilight raised an eyebrow at the sight. Hey! Great and powerful Trixie! Rainbow Dash called across the crowd. Why ain't you using your magic to take that key? Several stallions, mares, and foals gave Rainbow startled expressions, and some glowered at her. Up at the gazebo, the mayor looked out at Rainbow Dash with a severe expression. No, Miss Mayor, Trixie said loudly, barring the mayor's path to Rainbow Dash with her staff. The great and powerful Trixie will have a word with this rowdy bird brain. Bird brain? Rainbow Dash repeated with gritted teeth. Do not interrupt the great and powerful Trixie! Scolded the Azure Unicorn, waving her staff at the Cyan Pegasus. Yeah, don't interrupt her, said Pinot Noir, an Earth Pony mare with a bouncy cerise mane and mulberry coat, a strawberry and grapes cutie mark on her flanks. Pretty soon, a small group of ponies around Pinot Noir started shouting angrily at Rainbow Dash. Please, every pony, calm down! Called the mare with a soft stomp of her hoof. The din soon silenced itself. As the great and powerful Trixie was saying, Trixie began, it was long ago when the great and powerful Trixie first began her hunting of the Ursa Major. She became too full of herself and allowed an Ursa Major to get too close. One swipe of its paw, and the great and powerful Trixie was knocked out. When she came to, she realized she had lost the ability to cast magic. Tears began to slide down her muscle. And so, the great and powerful Trixie made this magic staff to do magic for her. Rainbow Dash cocked an eyebrow and made to protest, but Twilight placed a hoof on her side. When she saw the look on the unicorn's face, she sat down on the ground, placing Scootaloo before her. Come on, Rainbow Dash, let it go. Twilight said softly, let's talk about it at the library. Okay, seriously, what gives, Twilight? Rainbow Dash glared at Twilight, shouting at the lavender unicorn, as soon as the library shut between them. You know just as well as I do that Trixie isn't great or powerful at all. I know! Snapped Twilight. But she saved the town after I failed to. Or at least made it look that way. We're not exactly in a place to criticize her. But in Daring Do and the Griffith's Goblet, A.K. Yearling said that unicorns can not only use their magic if their horns are cut off. Twilight narrowed her eyes at Rainbow Dash. You're assuming that's true just because you read about it in Daring Do? Rainbow Dash gritted her teeth, eyes darting back nervously. Who said I read Daring Do? You did, just now. But you're lucky that A.K. Yearling got that fact right about unicorns, Alicorn, or you'd be in a lot of hot water right now, Twilight said, running her own Alicorn up and down a cloven hoof in her gap. Really? For real? It is indeed, Rarity interjected. Why, my own maternal grandfather lost his horn in a dreadful elevator accident. It left a nasty scar. Ugh. The alabaster unicorn shuddered. Applejack tilted her head. Is there any other way for a unicorn to lose the ability to use their magic? No, Twilight said shortly. There isn't. I mean, not in any functional way. A unicorn could suffer severe head trauma and lose their Alicorn's functionality, but they wouldn't be able to do much else either. The level of cranial trauma that a unicorn would need in order to sustain to be rendered magically inert would be way beyond that's what would be needed to turn her or him into a vegetable. Vegetables? Pinky cut in. But ponies eat vegetables. Are you saying that every single bit of celery and celery and leek and beet and corn and lettuce that I've ever eaten is a pony? Her forehead pulled down her eyelids in terror. What have I done? I'm a cannibal! She didn't mean as in literal vegetables, Pinky, Applejack replied. Literate vegetables? Pinky replied, her previous terror completely forgotten. So, carrots can read? Carrots can't read, Pinky! Twilight shouted.
But Applejack was just saying that vegetables were literate. I heard that plenty of time.
Apple Bloom said confusedly. What I said was,
Girls!
Verity shouted.
Please, we are getting off topic. Can we please return to the issue at hand?
Thank you, Verity, Twilight said with a sincere smile. As I was saying, a unicorn could get on the hit on the head really hard and lose their ability to lose their horn that way. But they also lose the ability to do anything else. A unicorn who sustained that level of head trauma would be comatose for the rest of her life. The 5 mares, 3 fillies, and Drake around her shivered involuntarily. Sweet Belle wrapped her forelegs around one of Rarity's, and the older unicorn nuzzled her little sister tenderly. So, you're saying that Trixie is faking it? Spike smiled, asked. That's exactly what I'm saying, Spike, Twilight smiled. As for that Ursa Major, or the magic staff, or how the former was only affected by the latter, I have no clue.
I know,
Piggy said, scratching her chin.
That Ursa Major looked really convincing.
The remaining 9 members of the posse went still at Pinky's choice of words, gaping at her. She looked around at her companions, shrugging her forelegs.
What?
Pinky, Twilight said cautiously. What did you mean by convincing?
I don't know, Twilight.
The pink earth pony sighed.
It looked just like the picture books Granny Pie would read me and my sisters back on the rock farm, but my pinky sense just wasn't telling me it was dangerous.
Pinky sense? It's something William Ponyville have just come to trust, Twa, Applejack commented. I'll recommend you do the same. Deciding to file Pinky sense away among the Giga Girls in one thing that to investigate about Pinkie Pie, Twilight pressed on. But a full-grown Ursa Major, how could that not be dangerous?
I don't know. It just wasn't.
Twilight pulled her face in a forehoof. This was getting nowhere fast. Okay, let's assume for a moment that this Pinky sense is real. Twilight mimmed the quotation marks with her forehoofs. Now, if Pinkie Pie's Pinky sense did not sense anything dangerous about that Ursa Major, then it stands to reason that no Ursa Major could have been there.
But we saw it right there,
Fluttershy added.
And we were the ones who saw it first,
Apple Bloom put in.
You can't honestly have us believe that there was no Ursa Major there,
Scootaloo shouted. Twilight smirked. There was no Ursa Major there, Twilight said brightly. Trixie Littlemoon is no mage. She's a snow pony. I could tell just by watching her. All that smoke, all those sparks, no self-respecting mage who knows her stuff would ever be so flashy about that. Especially if there really was an Ursa Major attacking.
Then, what did we see?
Rainbow Dash asked. If I had to guess, it was an illusion that Trixie set up, Twilight replied. In this eternal night of nightmare moons, there will be some ponies out there trying to take advantage of the panic and high tension that's risen because of a lack of sun.
That little damn snake in the grass!
Applejack growled.
Well, that does like that!
Apple Bloom snapped, stomping a forehoof.
Tricking ponies into thinking they need our help when there could otherwise be no crisis,
Granty stammered.
That's the worst possible thing!
Let's go call out that sham artist! Rainbow Dash snarled, wings flapping faster and faster as he geared up for a bolt back out the Golden Oak library door. Twilight Swimmer Shimmer gleamed around Rainbow Dash, holding her in place. Not so quickly, Rainbow Dash! Twilight said sharply. I already said we won't be able to deal with this by openly confronting her. We'll need to handle this with more tact and subtlety.
Ah, that is the language I speak, Twilight darling,
Rarity said softly, trotting to Twilight's side with a slightly dramatic air.
How shall we approach the citizens of Ponyville regarding this revelation?
A great roar shook the library, knocking Fluttershy off her hooves and driving the 3 fillies to clutch at each other and Spike to clutch at Twilight's leg. Roar! That's not an Ursa Major roar, Twilight gasped slowly. That's an Ursa Minor. A bear Titan's baby? Asked Applejack.
No big deal,
Rainbow Dash said with a shake of her hoof.
It's probably just Trixie pulling another fast one on every pony.
I don't think so, Twilight said, her pupils dilating and heart racing. I think that's a real Ursa Minor.
Well, what's the problem then? Pinky beamed. I mean, it's only a baby Ursa, right?
It is. But what happens when its mother realizes it's missing? A bolt of horror shot through every pony present. An Ursa Major may ordinarily be ferocious when hunting for a meal, but a mother Ursa who had been separated from her baby would stop at nothing to reunite with her child. And the Ursa Major wandered too close to Ponyville proper.
The Ursa Major could try us all at Ponyville!
Apple Bloom cried. We have to get that Ursa Minor out of here! Twilight shouted, galloping out the door, followed by Spike, who leapt up onto her back. Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy followed soon after.
Guthrie, stay here where it's safe!
Rarity said sternly, giving Sleepybell one last little hug.
What? But wait, Rarity!
Shouted Sleepybell, but Rarity was already galloping off after her friends.
We don't want you to fight some more rest in your night, huh?
Applejack added, removing her Stetson and dropping it onto Apple Bloom's head, the rim falling over the Earth Pony filly's eyes.
Paul's hat will keep you safe, Bloom. I'll see you soon!
And with that, she galloped after Rarity. Scootaloo looked up at Rainbow Dash, grinning.
You saw that Ursa Major went for Rainbow Dash!
Rainbow grinned cockily.
I'll bet it went for you, Squirt.
She messed up Scootaloo's mane before bolting after the rest of the herd. A modest party had broken out in Town Square. It was impromptu, nothing like the sort that Pinkie Pie would throw, but some ponies had gotten impatient waiting for the town party planner to return from Golden Oak Library and broke out some bottles of hard cider. Trixie had naturally gravitated to the middle of the celebration, posing dramatically and slicing off her magic staff this way and that. She evidently did not take the hard cider very well, as she barely noticed her hat slipping off her head after only one swing. She must prefer bourbon. Then the roar sounded from the north, and ponies began to obey their ancestors' response to danger, and galloped as quickly as they could in the opposite direction.
What was that?
Asked Snips, a squat unicorn colt with a scissors cutie mark. He huddled as close to the ground as he could, though it did not do much to make him less visible with how short his legs were.
It sounded something pretty big, eh?
Replied Snails, his lanky unicorn friend with a snail cutie mark. He mimicked Snip's fearful kneeling, and did much more for him for how much his height came from his leg length.
Remain calm, everybody!
Called the mayor, who had become rooted to the spot, digging her hose into the ground as firmly as he could.
The great and powerful Trixie will protect us from this!
Trixie, who had dropped her bottle of high cider from the war, winced noticeably.
The great and powerful Trixie will,
she replied shakily.
Yeah, that's right!
Snips perked up, plunking back to his hooves.
That sounded a lot like the whatchamacallit roar not too long ago!
Wasn't it called a Warsaw Major?
Asked Snails Lily.
It's a Ursa Major!
Cried out a shire-accented earth pony stallion with an hourglass cutie mark, pointing off to the north at a baby blue glow beyond the rooftops to the north of Town Square. The glow grew stronger, and an earth-sign shape rose up and let loose another roar that shook Ponyville to its foundations.
Oh, sweet Celestia, help us!
Murmured the mayor, shaking to her knees.
Don't worry about it!
Shouted Snips.
The great and powerful Trixie defeated an Ursa Major before! We all saw it!
Yeah, and this one looks a little smaller!
Snails added. The gangly unicorn colt was right. The creature that loomed over Ponyville in the distance was much smaller than the Ursa Major that appeared at the edge of the village not even a half-hour before. It was still capable of great destruction, though, as it proved when it began to clamber clumsily along the rooftops, beelining for Town Square.
It's coming right for us!
Screamed the Grey Pegasus mare, her golden eyes standing in different directions.
Come on, Trixie! Do something!
Snails complained.
Yeah! Quit letting it break stuff!
Snip snipped.
Well, okay.
Trixie rarely raised up her magic staff, so he continued in a stilted, halting fashion. every pony might want to look away while the great and powerful Trixie fences the Ursa.
Obeying without question, the few pony villagers who had remained in town square buried their heads under their forehoofs. Once she was sure that every pony had covered their heads and eyes, Trixie began to tiptoe her way toward the western half of Ponyville. It came muzzle to muzzle with a cross Twilight Sparkle. "Going somewhere, great and powerful Trixie?"
"It's the great and powerful Trixie,"
Trixie replied harshly without thinking.
"And what are you doing here? The great and powerful Trixie thought that you had accepted her greatness compared to you."
"I was withholding my judgment," Twilight said, her posse fanning out behind her as the huddled ponies began to look up again. "And now, I want to look more closely at how you do what you say you do. There's an Ursa Minor right there." Trixie's eyes flashed in the barely concealed alarm at the Ursine beast.
"That's only a baby,"
covering her outburst with a hasty cough. Trixie quickly assumed a more collected demeanor.
"That's only a baby. Trixie shall vanquish with ease."
"Well, if it's so easy, then I dare you to do it without this magic staff of yours," Twilight said cunningly, her bright pink glimmer shimmer glancing around the staff and pulling it out of Trixie's grip. Trixie's eyes widened.
"No! Trixie needs it!"
Twilight's eyebrow rose. Then she gave a grin, showing all her teeth. "Trixie, your magic is showing."
"What?"
Trixie looked up. In her haste, a pale magenta glimmer shimmer lit up around her horn, catching onto her staff as Twilight pulled it away. The ponies who huddled on the ground stood up, and stared in awe and betrayal at Trixie's clear demonstration of magic.
"The great and powerful Trixie? You're using magic?"
Snips gasped. "You lied to us?" Snails breathed. Trixie took in a deep breath, giving Twilight a deepest loathing, before sighing heavily and staring at her hooves.
"I've never slain an Ursa Major or an Ursa Minor."
"What?"
"No pony can slay an Ursa, Major or Minor. I just made that whole story up of being an Ursa Slayer so I could go from town to town and be a hero." "But there's an Ursa Major right there!"
Snips cried, pointing off to the north end of town where the Ursa Major had appeared, almost 9 minutes prior.
"The great and I am exceptionally gifted at illusion magic. I worked as a sleight of hoof artist out of Vancouver for years, but nothing came of it. I could barely rub two bits together. Then I discovered I could craft tremendous and terrifying illusions with my own imagination. I created the Ursa Major out of thin air. That's why I never used my magic when it was around. The Ursa I create are the same color as my glimmer shimmer. I planned it all out so I would take it out before it even reached Ponyville's outskirts, so that no pony would realize it was just my imagination and that it couldn't actually touch anything."
"So that's why my magic didn't do anything to it," Twilight said triumphantly.
Yes, magic can't affect what goes on in some pony else's mind," Trixie confessed. "But I need time to plan these things out, and I can't pull up an illusion to get that Ursa Minor."
Another roar struck Ponyville. Roar! But far deeper and more resonant, every barricade vibrating in each pony's barrel. It may very well have been the roar of the great devil lord of Tartarus himself, breaking free of his shackles after being placed there by the Concord flame. "What in tarnation?" Applejack gasped.
"It's what I fear."
Twilight turned pale at the sight of the large, purple-glowing shape rising up beyond the southern outskirts of Ponyville, at the very edge of the everfree forest. On its hind legs, it could step easily over even the tallest buildings of Ponyville without scraping the rooftops across its underbelly. Its claws were as long and thick as the double-decker carriages of Manhattan. Yellow teeth, as big as trees, dripped with saliva, and a mouth large enough to swallow a manticore whole. Its glowing eyes darted about over Ponyville, before letting loose a bellowing roar that shook Harmonia to its core. Roar! Is that... Trixie breathed. It's a bad Titan. Rarity gate. And she wants her baby.
Twilight finished. Trixie flung herself to the ground, sobbing.
Oh, what can we do? No pony can slay an Ursa Major, and it's going to stop me flat before I can get away.
Every pair of eyes in town square narrowed coldly at the sniveling azure unicorn.
Maybe no pony can slay an Ursa Major,
Twilight said decisively, facing the Ursa Minor to the north.
But there is some pony here who can placate it. Twilight Sparkle.
The mayor sighed in awe.
We're so terribly sorry that we let ourselves be swindled.
Save the species, Mayor, Twilight replied.
I didn't save you yet,
and I just hope that the Ursa Major doesn't notice the Ursa Minor before it's outside of Ponyville. And Twilight's Alicorn fairly shone like a pink sun. Off to the north, the Ursa Minor became enveloped in a pink glimmer shimmer, raising up slowly into the air. The Ursine infant was perplexed, flapping its limbs about curiously. With a massive shift in the spell matrices in her Alicorn, Twilight hefted the Ursa Minor over the last few rooftops separating the northern blocks of Ponyville from town square, passing it over the buildings of the village's southern blocks. It was at this point that the Ursa Major looked down and noticed that her cub was floating towards it in a pony's glimmer shimmer. A black rage that would drive a pony to madness filled her titanic heart. Visions of the deaths of scores of ponies filling her mind as she caught a sparkle of pink magic in the heart of the wooded hills. As her cub approached, the Ursa Major became curious. The magic was slowing down, as if the ponies wanted the Ursa to take her baby back. Tentatively reaching out with her forepaws, the Ursa Major took her cub in her forearms. The pink magic dissipated. The Ursa Major cradled her precious one in forearms, the rage in her heart giving way to the light of love as the cub playfully cupped at her face.
Doll!
Looking out to where she spied the pink sparkle, the Ursa Major let out a loud growl of her appreciation before lowering onto her forelegs, her cub clambering up onto her back, return to her cave at the feet of the Sorrel Equinus Mountains. Overhead, the Big Dipper and Little Dimmer glimmered brightly, defying the singular glow of the moon. Down in Ponyville, Twilight Sparkle had collapsed, sweat dripping off her forehead and Alicorn liberally. Applejack had lowered herself to her friend's side, nuzzling her gently as the townspony returned to town square cheering.
Unbelievable!
Rainbow Dash shouted, doing a loop-de-loop to let loose some pent-up energy.
That was amazing!
Spike called, his claws clenched in excitement.
Well, looks like we know just what kind of ability you got, Sugar Cube,
Applejack said softly.
Suppose you get Twilight some water.
Fluttershy turned to Ponyville and flapped quickly off to the nearest well. Twilight offered a weak smile to Applejack, slowly lifting her head up to nuzzle the earth pony.
Thank you, Applejack, she breathed. That took a lot out of me. You can't imagine how hard that was.
But you still did it, Applejack replied. That's more than any pony in Ponyville can say.
Oh, I'm certain there's some pony here who could have done it better than me.
Nope! Twilight suddenly appeared in Twilight's vision, as suddenly as though she winked out.
I know every pony in Ponyville, and no pony in Ponyville can do all that sort of fancy.
The pink earth pony started to flail her forelegs about in the air randomly, making weird zipping noises in her throat.
Like that!
Come again? Twilight groaned. Hoisting the Ursa Minor was hard work, and trying to deal with Pinkie Pie shenanigans on top of that bridge was too far. What Plankey's trying to tell you is that there is no pony, unicorn or not, who could have gotten them bear tines off our backs. Fluttershy appeared at Applejack's side, carrying out a hollowed-out gourd of a bucket and depositing it at the farmer mayor's side. Thanks, Fluttershy. Yellow Pegasus nodded quickly and withdrew. Drink up, Sugar Cube, Applejack said, tipping the gourd bucket slightly as Twilight leaned up and took a sip of water that may have been pure ambrosia to the lavender unicorn. After she had her fill, she smiled up at Applejack.
Thank you, Applejack,
Fluttershy. It's the least we could do, after y'all saved our hides again just now.
I'll say,
Rainbow Dash called, swizzing about in the air.
I've never seen a unicorn lifting something like that.
I must vouch for that myself, darling, Verity put in. As a fellow unicorn, I must add that I would never have dreamed that any pony would be capable of even budging a titanic beast. On other kinds, it was very commendable, the mayor said as she trotted up. She pushed her glasses up her muzzle. Ponyville is indebted to you deeply, Twilight Sparkle, because you saved us from a real Ursa Major attack. I present to you. Starting slightly, the mayor looked back up at the Ponyville in front of the gazebo, smiled nervously at Twilight, and made a "wait just a moment" with her forehoof, before cantering briskly up to the podium and grabbing something from behind the podium, carrying out to Twilight in her mouth. She responded by taking in her Dwemer Shimmer and placing it on the ground. I present to you the key to Ponyville, declared the mayor, gesturing to the large gold key Twilight had set down. Twilight got back to her hooves, lifted the key into the air, and passed it back to the mayor. Sorry, Miss Mayor, but I can't accept this, Twilight said. I don't want or need any reward for this. I just did what any pupil of Queen Celestia would have done. The mayor shrugged. If you insist, Miss Twilight Sparkle, though for your part, at least you merited the King of Ponyville, unlike you, Trixie. The mayor had turned a severely stern expression upon the Azure Unicorn, who had played her own false witness, but the so-called great and powerful Trixie was gone. Hey! Where'd she go? Rainbowdash growled, her head darting around. Forget about her, Earthly, Applejack said lowly. She's probably halfway out of the valley by now. I know, but... Rainbowdash let out a frustrated snarl. I gotta get the word out that she's a fake! I'll start climbing the walls if I can't! That's her call, really, Rainbowdash, Twilight said, setting the keyblade first into the earth. By which I mean setting the key blade first into the earth. The blade of the key, I mean, not a key blade. Sorry. If she's going to turn over a new leaf on her own, let her. But if she keeps us disarrayed, she'll get caught again. I'm not saying that word shouldn't spread, but don't rush it. Trixie Lulamoon is out of our maze now. We should stay out of hers. I'm sure she'll find a new outlet for her illusion magic. The great and powerful Trixie, bedraggled and humiliated, trudged under that Celestia-forsaken moon. Her ears flattened against her skull. Her beautiful hat clenched between her perfectly beautiful teeth, bared in grimace. It was only her birthright to trick ponies into thinking she was their savior from Ursa's threats, and reap the awards afforded only to heroes. It was a glorious life for a show mare, much preferable to rotting away in some two-bit Vancouver theater. She was an illusionary prodigy, her imagination indistinguishable from the real deal once projected outwards. The great and powerful Trixie could live out the life of an epic hero that she so aspired to as a filly. But now, because of Twilight Sparkle, the great and powerful Trixie's teeth dug more tightly into her hat, fabrics tearing. Yes, it was all Twilight Sparkle's fault. She only showed up after the Ursa Minor had revealed itself. She had to have planted the Ursa Minor there to make the great and powerful Trixie look bad, and to make the great and powerful Trixie reveal her great shame before the entire town. Even now, Twilight Sparkle is sending word of truth to every city, town, and village in Equestria. The great and powerful Trixie was sure of it. Taking her hat and her Dwemer Shimmer, and tearing out a corner of the brim with her teeth, the great and powerful Trixie slowed her fierce gallop to a simmering canter, then to a determined trot. If Twilight Sparkle was as powerful as she put on, as much as a spoil sport to see through any illusion, then the great and powerful Trixie would need to become greater and more powerful. Then the ever greater and powerful Trixie would have revenge!